HTKB, HTKB, HTKB. This is the house that Kamurai built. Time to get started. As far as the judicial system goes, I am all for that person trying an appeal on the basis that that dog was there, because it'll probably fail. One of the wonderful things about our judicial system is that you have the right to try, as long as you're willing to pay for it. This was a criminal court case, so they didn't have much choice about going through the trial. I don't think it was so much that the dog was creating sympathy for the client on the basis that people like dogs. I think it was more the fact that the woman felt she needed additional protection and comfort by having the dog there. It makes your case more believable. In the very least, that she believes that he raped her. I didn't follow this court case. I don't know anything about it. That's just my 10-second glance. And you know my opinion on things like this. I think they should just kill him. We don't need to waste taxpayer money on supporting this guy from inside of prison. We don't need to waste thousands and upon thousands of dollars electrocuting him. Take a bullet that's worth less than $1, take him out back, pop him in the back of the head. That requires our judicial system be a little bit better, and we have a higher probability that guilty parties are guilty. Our current judicial system runs on the knowledge and basis of the common people, and a lot of the common people ain't so great. You've seen all the education discussions going on in Georgia, amongst anywhere else. A lot of people are pointing at the socialist reform that's going on and pointing back at Europe and London on fire. And especially London on fire brings up the great point of how terrible a nanny state is. Don't get me wrong, when it comes down to it, I'm a Marxist, at least economically. And politically, I'm probably at least a socialist, if not a communist. Doesn't mean what you think it means, stop it. People make all kinds of assumptions when they hear those two types of words. Socialism does not mean nanny state. That is at the fault of the people. Communism does not mean evil. Communism doesn't even mean anti-capitalism. Communism means that everybody works for the betterment of the state and the people thereof. Problem with socialism, the way it's been done in Europe, and the problem with communism, the way it was done in the USSR, is that people don't care enough about doing the right thing and doing what's good for everyone, themselves included, when they can slack off and do just the same. You can't entertain a nanny state. We can't become a nanny state. Oh, we already are a nanny state. We've got to get away from that. Only way it's going to get fixed. And unfortunately, if you're an Obamacrat, that's what you're standing for. And let's be real clear. Obama's not a Democrat anymore. He has his own party, essentially. Just like the Tea Party isn't really the Republican Party. They might have some things in common, but they aren't the same party. Now, to clarify, a party is a group of people all with the same goal, namely in a political party, nominating and voting in someone who is from their party to be president or in a seat of power somewhere. So just because you're a Democrat doesn't mean you're for this. When you get into conservatism and liberalism, that's where a lot of that blows up, and you end up with a lot more commons, because there's conservative Democrats and conservative Republicans, there's liberal Republicans and there's liberal Democrats, and then there's Obamacrats. The only reason I'm going to say they're liberal is because we were not a socialist state. Very quickly following Europe, and we're very quickly making the same mistakes. Stop it! One thing that I'm for, that I keep hearing, whether people are for or against it, and that is being done incorrectly, is the redistribution of wealth. I said I'm a Marxist. But it doesn't have to be done the way Marx says it does. In the Communist Manifesto, Karl Marx states that it is inevitable that the people will eventually rise up, overpowering the wealthy and government and taking the money and redistributing it that way. It doesn't need a revolution to happen. The revolution happened. What should be happening that's not happening because of our national divides and the refusal of corporations to make $1 million less a year is that people have the personal responsibility to go seek jobs, create jobs, and work for whatever the paying wage will be. It is the responsibility of those with the money to distribute that through jobs. That's why the unemployment levels are so important. That's why it's important when companies lay off by the thousand, because every person who's not working is someone who's not getting paid and taking money out of the giant pile behind the corporations, which includes the government. And a lot of these people aren't motivated to go do that because we're in a nanny state. It's much easier to sit at home and not work for the same amount and then just complain in ignorance. London. That's why it's so important to educate people, make them smart, capable citizens. The guy sitting at home on their couch not doing anything isn't a citizen. He's a leech. If you are not contributing, you don't deserve your citizen status. I don't mean that you really shouldn't be a citizen. I mean that you shouldn't get to vote. The people dependent on the government don't get a say in that. If you were dependent on the government for your means of life, whether it be food stamps, welfare, whatever, then you're gonna do whatever the government says, and that needs to be it. Your right to vote is gone. If you're in prison for knowingly breaking our laws, because I believe that you should know ahead of the crime that was illegal or wrong, then you've willed away your right to vote. And to double that, the prisoners are also dependent on the state for their livelihood. I'm going to call it there. I'm Kamurai. Have a nice day.